Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode 3 of Articles of Vaishnavacharyas. We're actually continuing from the part 1 of the same article. The article is The Mission of Gaudiya Math. We have only finished one part of it, so we will be doing the other part. So today is actually supposed to be a Bhagavad Gita class, but we're continuing from that article of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, which was unfinished on Monday. So we'll say our Mangalacharan prayers and continue with that reading of that article. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नम ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So we're continuing on with the article of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur on the mission of Gaudiya Math. So today is not going to be our regular Bhagavad Gita class. So because we have left this article unfinished, so we'll continue from where we left off. All right, so we have stopped at this point. So just to recap, not everything, just the real essence of this article or this lecture on this article. Although the title is Gaudiya Math, its mission and activities. That's the original title of the article. It's as I've already told I've already said in the first second episode, or the first part of this essay, that this is the nomenclature doesn't really matter. The nomenclature of the institution, the order of the spiritual master is the active principle, and although this is the mission of Gaudiya Math, actually later on, when after the disappearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it became a little bit corrupted, and Srila Prabhupada started ISKCON. Now ISKCON became a little bit corrupted, quite a bit corrupted, and therefore now we have ISKM. Now, although we are not Gaudiya Math, but we are studying this article because it's actually the Gaudiya mission, the mission of the Gaudiya Sampradaya. Now, the societies which may be the instruments in executing such orders or such instructions or such um, vision may sometimes go, you know, what is that? Krishna himself said, Sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. So systems like this, I mean, sometimes the institutions may fall short of the real standards. But by carrying on the instructions or the order of the spiritual master, one can revive the mission to its original state. And therefore, this is actually the mission, the Gaudiya mission, not just the mission of the Gaudiya Math, or it's not institution based, it's not restricted to an institution, it's the instruction of the Acharya. Okay, so we have stopped at here that Gaudiya Math's mission is not to provide some bodily comfort or some mental comfort, um, which will be nothing but service to Akshaja or this material world. Adhokshaja is what we are after, and that one thing may actually cause all disharmony between the Gaudiya Math or the Gaudiya mission and the world. Our Krishna consciousness movement may strike a disharmony with the world when it only says Adhokshaja Seva, because they are hell bent on Akshaja Seva. So, but we will not compromise our message. Okay? So now let's continue from where we left off. The majority of the people of the world, although they profess to be positivists, fail to see, although it must be quite patent, the greatest of all the phenomena. Now, this sentence in itself does not um, convey the full meaning, because only when you read the full paragraph, then we will get the idea of what he's talking about. So let's read the whole paragraph and we'll try to explain. The majority of the people of the world, although they profess to be positivists, fail to see, although it must be quite patent, the greatest of all the phenomena. They, at any rate, forget it in practice even when they appear to know. The greatest of the positivists, like Charvak, although he could not but have observed this greatest of all the phenomena, failed to take notice of it. That great phenomenon is generally known by the name of death. So he's talking about death. And positivists means those who speak so-called positivity in this world. Motivational speakers, they speak about, oh, it's a positive message. What is the positive? They're they're positive about being hopeful of happiness in this material world. And any message that furthers that idea, they are referred to here as positivists. Basically, they are hedonists. Those who have, see, what is that? Optimists. They're optimists in this material world. They're optimistic about the material world. So they are referred to here as positive. Whereas the devotees and even the jnanis, they are pessimistic about the material world. The devotees basically are neither optimistic nor pessimistic. They just are concerned with their service. But in the beginning stages of devotion, um, when we're trying to disassociate ourselves with matter, the instructions on renunciation always um, portray the material world as a very pessimistic, in a very pessimistic sense, um, that because it doesn't give anything, I mean, worthwhile, right? Antavattu palam tesham tadbhavati alpamedhasam. So everything in this material world is, will come to an end. So what is the use of endeavoring for anything in this material world? Okay? So anyway, these positivists, the majority of the people of the world, although they profess to be positivists, fail to see, although it must be quite patent. Patent means obvious. Although it must be quite obvious, the greatest of all phenomena. Pashyannapina pashyati. In Sanskrit, this is called Pashyannapina pashyati. They, at any rate, forget it in practice even when they appear to know. Tesham pramatta nidhanam pashyannapina pashyati. See, this greatest of all phenomena is death. That is the most powerful thing in this world. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam 214, I think. देहापत्यकलत्रादिषु आत्मसैन्येष आत्मसैन्येष्वसत्स्वपि तेषां प्रमत्तो निधनं पश्यन्नपि न पश्यति. Persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. This is called Pashyanna Pina Pashyati, or like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained here, they fail to see although it must be quite patent, and they forget it in practice even when they appear to know. So this is Pashyanna Pina Pashyati. The greatest of the positivists, like Charvak Muni. So Charvak Muni was the classic hedonist. His philosophy was Ranam Kritva Ghritam Pibet Yavat Jivet Sukham Jivet Bhasmi Bhutasya Dehasya Kutah Punaragamano Bhavet. By begging, borrowing, or stealing, somehow or other, get some money and get some ghee. Purchase ghee with that. Because ghee is very important. You eat ghee and enjoy life. Beg, borrow, or steal, whichever means you can get your hands on some ghee, get it, and cook nice food stuff and eat nicely and enjoy life. Now you may be thinking, hey, if I beg, borrow, or steal, I have to take karma, I have to pay for it. No such thing. There's no afterlife, nothing. Bhasmi bhutasya dehasya kuta punaragamanam bhave. At the end, everybody is going to become ashes. After that, there is nothing, no reincarnation, nothing. So it's okay. So don't need to worry about any future consequences. Nothing will happen. You just whichever means no morals, nothing. Just enjoyment is the highest moral. That was Charvak Muni. Now, in regards to this, I want to actually share something. So recently, uh, I've come across some people on the internet who profess themselves to be Hindu atheists, and they quote Charvak Muni. You see, our Hinduism is so open that there is no boundaries. You can be an atheist and still be Hindu. See, Charvak Muni is a Muni. He's a great sage in Hinduism. And I am also atheist. He's also atheist and still he is accepted as Hindu. Just because Charvak Muni's name is mentioned in some Shastra does not mean that he is one of the great sages who's supposed to be respected and he is part of religion. No. He is quoted here to show the foolishness of that class of people. He is not Charvak Muni is not going to get any benefit like the Vaishnavas. They go to Vaikuntha. The Charvak Muni is not going there. But somehow or other, Vaishnava Acharyas like Srila Prabhupada and Manav Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, they have mentioned his name. So somehow or other, he will get some benefit somewhere. Yeah? But otherwise, they are not going to get anything. It's not that, oh, everybody is okay, you can be this, you can be that, you can be anything, and you are still a Hindu. That's why our religion is very all encompassing. Now, it is all encompassing, but you have to be an astic, not nastic. All encompassing means this. It's not that, oh, you are worshipping Durga, okay, you can worship Durga. You are worshipping Vishnu, okay, you can worship Vishnu. You are worshipping Shiva, okay, you worship Shiva. Ganesh, okay, Ganesh. Kartikeya, okay, Kartikeya. Ghost, okay, Ghost. Tantric, okay, fine. Huh? You want to just do karma, can't just do your work and work is worship, okay, that is also fine. This is called Yatama philosophy. Now, these things are there, but Yanti Deva Vrata Devan. Pitrin Yanti Pitrivrataha. Bhutani Yanti Bhuteja. Madhyajanopi Yanti Mam. So, there are different destinations for each of these different classes of worshippers. The demigod worshippers, they go to demigods. Ghostly worshippers go to ghosts. Forefather worshippers go to forefather planets. And Krishna's worshippers go to Krishna Loka. So there's difference in destination. Now, Those people who are demigod worshippers, they are on the lower rung. Now, once they go to demigod worship, demigod planets, they may associate with devotees and eventually go back to Godhead. Or if they are not so fortunate, then may come back again here and take birth again in some aristocratic family, some devotee family like this, and continue from where they left off, something like this. Or in some pious family, Suchinam Srimatam Gehe. They won't take really birth in devotee's family, unless one is a devotee in the past life. But anyway, um, they everybody is all encompassing means yes, even if you're meat eater, okay, you are accepted in the fold of Sanatan Dharma, but you start with maybe that offering goat to Kali once in a month, Amavasya day, and all that. And then eventually you have to rise up and rise up and rise up and ultimately come to the Vaishnava platform. If one doesn't rise himself up or elevate himself, then that is not that everybody can do whatever they like and they are still Hindu. We're under one umbrella. No, 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 no. There is a whole aim, that is to become servant of Krishna, which we already are. We just forgotten. Now the remembrance of that will take time. So to somehow or other engage everyone in obedience to Vishnu, these kinds of karma kanda section is there, dhyana kanda section is there, so that at least even if you want to do something for your own material happiness, do it within the confines of Vedic instructions which are given by Krishna. So in that way, at least somewhere you are obedient to Krishna, and that obedience is what will actually elevate you, not the real heavenly planets yajna, which is going to take you to which will take you to heavenly planets. That is not real elevation. Elevation is because of some obedience to Vishnu, and eventually it will blossom into complete obedience to Vishnu, which is Vaishnava. That's the whole point of it. So Charvak Muni is not an example of, oh, atheism is also accepted within the Hindu fold, so I am a Hindu atheist. That is wrong understanding. Anyway, so the greatest of the positivists, like Charvak, although he could not but have observed this greatest of all the phenomena, failed to take notice of it. So he observed, of course, he saw people dying, but he still did not take it seriously. That great phenomenon is generally known by the name of death. So Yudhishthir Maharaj also says in the 7-47 purport, it is quoted from Mahabharata. गच्छन्ति हयमालयम् शेषास्थावरमिच्छन्ति किमाश्चर्यम् अतः परम्. Mahabharata Vanaparvat 313.116. Hundreds and thousands of living entities meet death at every moment, but a foolish living being nonetheless thinks himself deathless and does not prepare for death. This is the most wonderful thing in this world. Yamaraj asked actually Yudhishthira Maharaj, what is the most wonderful thing in this world? He said, the most wonderful thing is that every moment, so many people are dying. And still those who stay here, they think that death will not come upon them. So this is the most wonderful thing. Pashyan apina pashyati. Seeing but yet not seeing. So that is Maya. If the memory of this great event is retained in our minds, we would assuredly be solicitous for the Amrita, deathlessness. See? That means we have to always remind ourselves of death. That is what it's saying. Then we will always be solicitous for the Amrita. We will be craving, or we will be going towards, working towards Amrita or deathlessness. The Shruti says we are all children of the Amrita, heirs of the Amrita. Shrinvantu Vishve Amritasya Putraha. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 2.5. Listen, you all children of the Amrita. So this is from Shvetashvatara Upanishad. In this world, there are found two kinds of endeavor for obtaining this Amrita. Like unto the sons of kings of the epochs recorded in history, some try to ascend the throne of their father by treason against the father. On the other hand, loyal sons, in seeking to be heirs of a kind-hearted and affectionate father, look upon constant service as being both the means and the end. The Gaudiya understands the last named as being the appropriate and eternal method. Now, did you understand what he was saying? So, Amrita, we are all trying to become deathless. The scientists are also trying something. The Jnanis are also trying. Karmis are also trying in their own way. Maybe some biological breakthroughs, which can prolong our life to as much as possible and eventually maybe to infinity. That's their hope. We don't have any hope in that. It's not going to work. But anyway, they are trying. The Jnanis try to become immortal by, a classic example of a karmi or a sense enjoyer becoming immortal is Hiranyakashipu. He tried his level best. And Jnani yogis, they would try to become immortal by becoming one with Brahman or one with even Super Soul or Paramatma. But all that will fall short. Patantyadhaha. Patantyadhaha means they will again fall down. Yenyera vindaksha vimuktamaninas tvayasta bhavada visuddha buddhaya आरुह्य कृच्छ्रेण परम पदम ततः पतन्त्यधः अनादृतो युष्मदङ्घ्रयः. So, if we give up the lotus feet of Krishna, then however, even if we have climbed up to the highest platform, we'll again fall down into this cycle of birth and death. So, here he's saying there are two kinds of endeavor for obtaining this Amrita. Like unto the sons of kings of the epochs, the means of the past, recorded in history, some try to ascend the throne of their father by treason against the father. So these are like the demons, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, and all these things. So they try to ascend the throne of their father by treason against the father. Treason means by how to say droha means what is that? Backstabbing, or let's see what is treason, how it is defined. Like Ravana, he wanted to build a staircase to heaven. Of course, there is only heaven. He did not believe in Vaikuntha and all. The crime of betrayal. The crime of betraying one's country, especially by attempting to kill or overthrow the sovereign or government. So they want to overthrow the Lord and become themselves the Lord. Treason against the father. On the other hand, loyal sons, in seeking to be heirs of a kind-hearted and affectionate father, look upon constant service as being both the means and the end. So we have already studied that, means and the end. Krishna consciousness is the means and Krishna consciousness is the end. The perfection of such Krishna consciousness is the end. The Gaudiya understands the last named, that means constant service, as being the appropriate and eternal method. Why is it appropriate? Because Shrinmatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantasthoya Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhrit Satam. Sri Krishna, the tidings of whom whosoever listens to or sings is sanctified, the benefactor of all holy persons, appearing in the hearts of all who listen to the accounts of himself, destroys the evil propensities of their hearts to the very root. This seed of sin or sinful desire or ignorance, avidya, is the cause of the worldly sojourn of the jiva. Sojourn means journey. This seed of sin, which is ignorance, by ignorance only we commit sin. If we really know that we are eternal servants of Krishna, then we will not try to dominate the material world. We will not try to gratify our senses. That is lust. So lust is the cause of sin. Krishna says in 3rd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Kamesha Krodhesha Rajoguna Samudbhava Mahashano Mahapapma Vidhyanam Meha Vairinam. So that lust is a desire to enjoy in this material world separately from the Lord. I think there is a bit of a lag, isn't it? Oh, it is gone. Today is going to be a tough day. It's going to be very, very tough today. It's going to be very tough. Is the audio and video, how is it? How bad is it? I know it is bad, but how bad? Please let me know in the comments. But it's fine. Okay, we'll go on then. But I don't have much faith in the system today. Okay, it's in sync. Really? Maybe sometimes. Okay, so we'll continue. Hopefully, we can complete today. Okay, the seed of sin or sinful desire or ignorance, avidya, is the cause of the worldly sojourn of the jiva. Why is this method eternal? Okay, yeah, so the lust, the desire to atmendira priti vancha, the desire to gratify one's own senses, that comes out of ignorance. If we are completely knowledgeable that we are servants of Krishna, we will not try to engage in sense gratification. If we are engaging in sense gratification, that is the proof that we have not understood that we are servants of Krishna, eternal servants. That means that is avidya. Okay. Why is the method eternal? Because bhejire madhokshajam. Now this is, I think, 1 to 25. 1 to 25. Yeah. भेजिरे मुनयोथाग्रे भगवन्तमधोक्षजं सत्वं विशुद्धं क्षेमाय कल्पन्ते येनु तानिह. Previously, all the great sages rendered service unto the personality of Godhead due to his existence above the three modes of material nature. They worshipped him to become free from material conditions and thus derive the ultimate benefit. Whoever follows such great authorities is also eligible for liberation from the material world. Now, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quoted only this much. The first two lines, I think. Yeah. Rendered service under the sages, thus previously one has received, one has gone to the kingdom of God. So by rendering service to the devotees, one can go to the kingdom of God. Sattvam Vishuddham Kshemaya. Okay. So here it is said, previously all the great sages rendered service under the personality of Godhead. Okay. So, okay, here he's talking about not service to the sages, but service to Godhead. Previously, how the sages did by devotional service to Krishna. So, in that way, we have to follow. This is called following the parampara. Just like chapter 4, text 15 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about following the parampara, following the previous sages. Evam gyatva kritam karma purvairapi mumukshubhehi Kuru karma eva tasmatvam purvaihi purvataram kritam. I know the screen is like really taking a long time to change. So the meaning is all the liberated souls in ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps. Srimad Bhagavatam 10 to 31. Swayam samuttirya sudustaram dyuman भवार्णवं भीमं मदभ्रसौहृदाः भवत्पदाम्भोरुहनावमत्रते निधाय याताः सदनुग्रहो भवान्. O Lord, who resemble the shining sun, you are always ready to fulfill the desire of your devotee, and therefore you are known as the desire tree Vancha Kalpataru. When acharyas completely take shelter under your lotus feet in order to cross the fierce ocean of nations, they leave behind on earth the method by which they cross, and because you're very merciful to your other devotees, you accept this method to help them. So we have to follow in the footsteps of the previous acharyas as they have served the Lord. We have to follow in the footsteps and serve the Lord ourselves. Okay? In the beginning, the munis or sages worshipped the Adhokshaja Bhagavan, the transcendental God in his plenitude, in this way. What is plenitude? An abundance, the condition of being full or complete. Plenary portion. The transcendental God in his fullness, in his completeness. Purnam, Shadaishwarya Purnam. Okay, so Adhokshaja Bhagavan, they worship him. That type of kindness which does not give rise to manda, evil, is termed Amandodayadaya. Okay. So basically, Akshaja and Adhokshaja he, you know, classified, and then he said that the so-called materialists, they are they are very busy trying to get some happiness here, but they don't take notice of death. One day they're going to die. So if we can remember that, then we will actually be serious about deathlessness and how to become immortal. And we are the children of immortality. Actually, we are supposed to be immortal. It's quoted from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. So, and to reach the immortality, some try by challenging the Lord, and some by sincere service to the Lord. Gaudiya accepts the service to the Lord as the proper method. Why is it appropriate? Because by hearing and chanting, um, all the dirty things in the heart will be cleansed, and one can actually become immortal. Hmm. See, all the sin will become washed away, uprooted. And that is when one can become immortal. As long as one has the desire of sin, of sense gratification, he will remain in this material world. So to remove that sense gratificatory tendencies, one has to constantly hear about Krishna. Srinvatam Swagata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana. So this is the method that previous sages adopted to achieve immortality, and therefore Bhejare Munayo Thagre Bhagavantam Adhokshajam. They have served the Lord in this way, and we have to also take up that. And that to propagate this message is actually kindness. So that is the mission of Gaudiya. Now, that type of kindness, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying, which does not give rise to manda, evil, is termed as this phrase Amandodayadaya. This is a verse about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Madhya 10.119 in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Oh, the screen is stuck. I think it will take some time for it to come out on the screen here. I've already taken it out on my end, but it is not coming in yet. Yes, Radhika Sakya Mataji has found out. This is Madhya 10.119. हेलोद्धूनितखेदया विशदया प्रोन्मीलदामोदया शाम्यच्छास्त्रविवादया रसदया चित्तार्पितोन्मादया शश्वद्भक्तिविनोदया समदया माधुर्यमर्यादया श्रीचैतन्यदयानिधे तव दया भूयादमन्दोदया. Sri Chaitanya. So many daya is there. 8 Vishadaya. Actually, not all are daya. Vishadaya, but it ends with Daya. And then finally there is Daya. So it's a beautifully ornamented verse. It's taken from where? Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak. I don't know who. Prabodhananda Saraswati maybe. So, Sri Chaitanya Dayanidhe, unto the ocean of mercy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Tava Daya Bhuyad Amando Daya. Hmm. Amanda means, Manda means dull, Manda means bad, Amanda means good, good fortune. Amanda Udaya, Udaya means in which there is awakening of good fortune. Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam, that is the white lotus of good fortune. So, this Dayan, Sri Chaitanya Dayanidhe, Tava Daya Bhuyad, let it be Amando Daya, let it. So, this is the awakening of auspiciousness, good fortune. So, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Daya is to point people to Prema Pumartho Mahan, devotional service to Krishna, which is the highest thing, not even moksha. I mean, it's not important. Prema Pumartho Mahan, highest, higher than even, way higher than moksha. Because even moksha is called Kaitava Dharma. In Bhagavatam, um, Dharma Projita Kaitavotra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastavam Astru Shivadam Tapatrayon Moolanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Parairishvara Sadyo Hridya Varudhatetra Kritibi Sushrusubhis Takshanat. So, um, the point is, Kaitava Dharma, even Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha are also cheating religion. I must say, oh, if you tell this to a Hindu, hey, how come you are saying like this nonsense? Because it is aparadharma. Paradharma is, transcendental religion. This is still the mundane plane. And negative aspect of mundane plane, which is moksha, but it's not complete. Prema pumartho mahan, love of Godhead is the highest. So that is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has brought. Namo Mahavadanyaya, very charitable, munificent. Namo Mahavadanyaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate, Krishnaya, Krishna Chaitanya Namne, Gauratvishe Namaha. So Krishna Prema Pradayate, he has come to Anarpita Charim Chirat Karunaya Vatirnah Kalau. Forget the word. It's a beautiful verse, fourth verse of the अनर्पित चरिं चिरात् करुणयावतीर्णः कलो समर्पयितुमुन्नतोज्ज्वलरसां स्वभक्तिश्रियम् हरिः पुरटसुन्दरद्युतिकदम्बसन्दीपितः सदा हृदय कन्दरे स्फुरतु वः शचीनन्दनः. So anarpita charim chirak karunayavatirna kalau samarpayitu munnatojvala rasam swabhakti shriyam. The second line especially. Samarpayitu munnatojvala rasam swabhakti shriyam. Samarpayitum means to bestow, unnata, elevated, ujjvala rasam, the conjugal mellow, swabhakti shriyam, the treasure of his own service. So he has come to bestow the treasure of his own service to Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come. So, in many ways, this is mentioned like that, Krishna Prema Pradayate, and here also Amandodaya. So that is actual kindness. Now, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Mandodayadaya, Amandodayadaya, very nicely he um, um, distinguishes. Let's see. That type of kindness which does not give rise to manda or evil is termed Amandodayadaya. As for example, if a sick man is allowed to eat tamarind or a drunkard is helped to proceed to a liquor shop, kindness is indeed shown. But in the sequel, it turns out to be productive of harm to the person who is the recipient of kindness. Now, if a sick man eats tamarind, he gets more sick. If a drunkard man, if he asks you, "Hey, where is that whiskey shop here nearby?" And if you point out, "Yeah, it is just there. Just turn right and the straight little bit. Third shop it is." Okay, you are also going to hell with him, because It is showing kindness. You are actually being kind to him, like showing him what he wanted. But what he wanted was crap. Since you showed him crap, you're also going to face crap. So, um, the motivational speakers, the so called people who promote and encourage people in this material world, they are like that. Mando daya daya. I have written a Instagram caption one day, I think about 1.5 years back or something like that, 2 years back or what. What is the purpose of motivational speakers? Rap crap and keep them trapped. It's like kind of a bit of a rhyme, but rap crap keep them trapped. So rap means rapping. Rappers, they continuously talk. The song is like continuously rapping. So but they rap crap. They talk so much nonsense. Rap crap and keep them trapped. So they keep people trapped in this material world. Rap crap and then keep them trapped, and they themselves are trapped. So this is actually mando daya daya. Evil arises out of this kindness. Udaya means to rise. Manda udaya, amanda udaya. The awakening or the rising of good fortune is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. And the so-called missionary activities of this material world and philanthropic activities, altruistic activities, all these are mandodayadaya, the rising of evil, facilitation of evil. Actually, kindness is a mandodayadaya, the kindness of fools, manda buddhi. Hmm? So, as for example, if a sick man is allowed to eat tamarind or a drunkard is helped to proceed to a liquor shop, kindness is indeed shown. But in the sequel, as a consequence, it turns out to be productive of harm to the person who is the recipient of kindness. If the sick if the sick man is placed under medical treatment against his will and inclination, if the drunkard is protected from his evil course, amandodaya daya, non-harm producing kindness is shown. So, preventing floods and famines, nursing the sick, pleasing or displeasing anybody, or stultifying the faculty of consciousness of anyone, every one of these is an instance of mandodaya daya, harm producing kindness. Man cannot understand it till he realizes his true position. Hmm? Now, let me show you. Um, okay. Yeah, I need to, first of all, I saw this word but forgot the meaning. Stultify. Stultifying the faculty. Tending to stifle enthusiasm, initiative, or freedom of action. Stultifying the faculty of consciousness of anyone. It means, kaivalyam narakayate. To become one with the Lord is to like give up our individuality and consciousness and then become one with the Lord. So these things, all of them, even preventing floods and famines, nursing the sick, pleasing or displeasing anybody, or stultifying the faculty of consciousness of anyone, every one of these is an instance of mandodaya daya, harm producing kindness. Now, you may say, hey, come on, how can you say this? So let's read on. Man cannot understand it till he realizes his true position. By such acts, the jiva is not really benefited. See, this is the point. The jiva is not really benefited. You may give some benefit to the body, but ultimately the jiva. Okay, I suppose a man is saved, and he has given, has given some extra lease of life because of some technological advancement. You could be able to maybe transfuse blood into him, and then maybe he lived longer. Now, with that long life, what is he going to do? Perform more sinful activities? and get more entangled in this world. So ultimately, we're not saying okay, doctor should not do his job or something. But if we don't do spiritual help, eh, then we are just not helping actually. Prabhupada gave an example where the bird in the cage, if the bird is hungry, the decorating the cage will not help. How much ever you, the more you, oh, the bird is hungry, okay, let me decorate the cage even more. No, the bird is going to die inside. So similarly, we may do all kinds of, we may provide all kinds of comforts for the body, but if the soul is not helped, the soul is not, of course, the soul won't die, but the function of the soul is dead. So spiritually is dead. He's just carrying on like a zombie, living dead. Jivan Chava. It is said in the Bhagavatam, Jivan Chava, living dead, like a ghost. Everybody here is like a ghostly haunted person. পিশাচে পাইলে যেন মতিচ্ছন্ন হয়, মায়াগ্রস্ত জীবের হয় সেই ভাব উদয়. Some Rohit is saying string roasted him for insulting Sadguru. Wait for my roast of Sadguru. Anyway, what is the meaning of what is the use of this roast? Actually, I should thank him for giving me some visibility so that other people can know. Let it be the trailer for the actual real video that's going to come out. Then we will see. Okay. So anyway, Mando Daya Daya and Amando Daya Daya. Harm producing kindness. By such acts, the jiva is not really benefited. Cutting the root of misery is doing real good to others. What is the root of misery? The treatment that allows the gangrene of sensual desires to remain does no real good to the patient. This is a very apt example, apt analogy or metaphor. Gangrene of sensual desires. Gangrene is when a large part of the cells become dead um, in the body, a large area of maybe inside or outside. So the dead cells cannot be again brought back to life. That part of the body is dead, and it will spread unless it is immediately attended to. So the gangrene, sorry, the treatment that allows the gangrene of sensual desires to remain does no real good to the patient. So it's actually like gangrene. So unless a tree, if you don't uproot it, if you just cut off one branch and say that, oh, you know I've done enough. No, it's going to grow on other branches and other branches. As long as the root is there, the tree is alive, it will grow more and more branches. And the grass, if you just cut it, it will again grow. You uproot it, yes, then it won't. So the gangrene, if it is there, it's like cancer. Cancer, if it is there, the cancerous cells, it has to be completely removed. If even little is there, it will again multiply, again it will. So we cannot let the cancer or gangrene of this sensual desires remain. Yeah. The treatment that allows the gangrene of sensual desires to remain does no real good to the patient. Neither is it a proof of great wisdom out of spite to the gangrene of sensual desires to hang the sick man holding out of the prospect of mukti annihilation as complete and permanent cure. What he is saying here? Okay, let me read that properly. The treatment that allows the gangrene of sensual desires to remain does no real good to the patient. Neither is it a proof of great wisdom out of spite to the gangrene of sensual desires to hang the sick man holding out the prospect of mukti, annihilation as complete and permanent cure. Gangrene has to be removed. Okay? Now, cancer cells have to be removed. Oh, he has cancer. Okay. If you let the cancer remain, that is not good. And if you say, okay, let's kill this person, because then there is no more cancer. Because the no more person, no more cancer. What kind of nonsense is that? So, to hang the sick man, oh, he's sick. Okay, let's hang him. right? So just like cataract, Prabhupada said, if a man has a cataract on the eye, that cataract has to be removed so that he can see properly. Oh, yes, cataract, your eye has a problem. Okay, take out the eye. Now no more problem. No more eye, no more problem. You're now blind. So that is not the complete and permanent cure of killing. So this mukti or annihilation of one's individual self and merging into the Brahmajyoti and all these things. This is not the answer to that. This is like the oh, you have a problem with your cancer. Okay, kill. I'll kill you so that you will no more have cancer. So what kind of nonsense is that? So this mukti or moksha is not the answer. Swayam nishreya samvidvan nash. What is that? Nav navapatya kshayaya karmahi. Okay, you know what? Sometimes it's not clear. Narati roginopatya. Oh, vanchato hi bhishaktamah. This is 6949, I think. I've quoted in this. I've quoted this verse against Gaur Gopal Das. The nonsense he was talking. So that time in that video, I quoted this. Prabhu showed me. 6950. Swayam nishreya samvidvan navakyagnyaya karmahi naratiroginopathyam vanchato hi bhishaktamah vanchatopi bhishaktamah. A pure devotee who is fully accomplished in the service of devotional service, in the science of devotional service, will never instruct a foolish person to engage in fruitive activities for material enjoyment, not to speak of helping him in such activities. Right? He will not instruct, what to speak of helping him. Such a devotee is like an experienced physician who never encourages a patient to eat food injurious to his health, even if the patient desires it. Hmm? That is Mandodayadaya. Just as the best physician, even if the patient evinces a desire for unwholesome food, does not allow it, in like manner, he who is himself aware of Nishreyaham, the highest good, never advises an ignorant person to do karma, work for his own interest. Um, it's a fruitive work. The Shruti says, Avidyayam bahudha vartamana vayam kritartha ityabhimanyanti balaha यत्कर्मिणो न प्रवेदयन्ति रागात् तेनातुराः क्षीणलोकाश्चवन्ते. Mundaka Upanishad 1.2. I think 6, 7. What is that? Ignorant persons, being themselves in the midst of manifold avidya errors, think thus: we have gained what we want, because they work for their own interest. They have no experience of the real truth by reason of their attachment to such work. See? I think the screen is stuck. Yeah, so Dimitri is saying, like Varnashram, it is spoiled, so let us cancel it. So it's exactly like that. So it's not to cancel it but rectify it. Now the screen is stuck. I do not know how to make it work. This is the problem. Maybe 1 second. It's still showing the same thing. Although my thing has already changed so much. Okay, now it is showing properly. Nonsense. Sometimes these technologies are just crap. I think this laptop, I don't know, it's so powerful, but I don't understand sometimes. Okay. Ignorant persons, being themselves in the midst of manifold avidya errors, think thus: we have gained what we want. Because they work for their own interest, they have no experience of the real truth by reason of their attachment to such work. With extreme solicitude, they gain little as the result of their activities. So, Grahamedi Sukham hi tuchham. Very, very little they get. And they work very hard for little results. And that too temporary. One second. Krishna. Having a little bit of a flu. After a time, they fall from that position. The Shrutis further says, avidya, avidyayam, avidya, avidyayam antare. Okay, avidyayam antare vartamanah swayam dhirah. The script is a bit not clear. Paridatan manyamana. Paridatam manyamanaah janghanyamanaah pariyanti moodha andhenaiva niyamana yathandhaah. Panditamanyamana. Oh, see, it's not even so clear, you see. The script is a bit, I don't know. Panditamanyamana. Okay, avidyayamantare vartamanaah swayam dhiraah panditamanyamana janghanyamana pariyanti moodha andhenaiva niyamana yathandha. Those who remaining in the midst of ignorance is Mundaka Upanishad 137. I think 138 or something. Sometimes the numbers are not very good. Anyway, those who remaining in the midst of ignorance consider themselves to be conscientious and enlightened. Such perverted and ignorant men come to grief like the blind man led by the blind. Super for today's material world. Repeat again. Those who remaining in the midst of ignorance consider themselves to be conscientious and enlightened. Maya pahrata jnana people. Such perverted and ignorant men come to grief like the blind man led by the blind. So they will end up in grief. Most people of the world, forgetful of their own home, which is home with a capital H, that means kingdom of God. Most people of the world, forgetful of their own home under the spell of the enchantress. Who's the enchantress? Maya. Are running headlong in the opposite direction. In this performance, again, their intoxication, eagerness, concentration, and firm determination are so intense that they have indeed very little opportunity to think about home. This is the thing. Why do people not have time for Krishna consciousness? Because they're so busy running in the opposite direction. If they mold their life in such a way that they can actually spend time for Krishna consciousness, they can. But their determination, their concentration and eagerness and intoxication about that way of life is so intense, they have very little opportunity to think about home. But the voice of the Gaudiya Mutt, the flying red tinted banner of the Gaudiya Mutt, arresting the ear and the eye of all persons, is ever proclaiming, Krishna bolo, sange chalo, ei matra bhiksha chaye. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's song. Radha Krishna bol bol bolo re shabai. Say Krishna, come along, this is the only alms we beg. Back to Godhead and back to home is the message of Gaudiya Mutt. And this is where our Srila Prabhupada took the word, phrase, back home, back to Godhead. You know, uh, in fact, Back to Godhead magazine, all this is coming from here. That is the mission of Gaudiya mission. So it may have many different names, but the whole point is calling people back home, back to Godhead. To arrest the pervertedly current tide and to redirect it towards the eternal source is the seemingly unpleasant duty of the Gaudiya Mutt. Or Prabhupada called it a thankless task because nobody will thank you for it. People will actually ridicule and make fun and make, like somebody said, he roasted me. That string guy roasted me for insulting Sadhguru. Now we are not here to actually insult anyone, but if somebody is cheater, we have to expose him. We're not insulting him. We're just exposing him. And that we have to do. So that is actually helping. There is Amando Daya. But these people don't understand and they will actually criticize. So there is just one example. So there will be so much opposition. So to arrest the pervertedly current tide, so the tide, everybody is going in this direction, and we have to change people to this direction. So and redirect it towards the eternal source is a seemingly unpleasant duty of the Gaudiya Mutt. The Gaudiya Mutt says, all men of the world without exception are our kin. All birds and beasts, grass and shrubs are our kindred. Whatsoever, conscious being, wheresoever existing belongs to our Supreme Lord. We shall conduct our kindred from out of the spells of the enchantress towards home. Kindred means kith and kin, our relatives, our family, basically. So everybody is, the whole world is one family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, because Krishna is the father. So the whole mission of Gaudiya Mutt is to conduct our kindred, that means our family members, which are all souls, from out of the spells of the enchantress, out of the Maya, towards home, back to Godhead. We shall not be showing, for the time being, sweet sympathy for them by enabling those who have fallen into the snares of the enchantress to get more deeply entangled. Very important. We shall not be showing, for the time being, sweet sympathy for them by enabling those who have fallen into the snares of the enchantress to get more deeply entangled. Our rascaldom going on in the name of motivational speeches by our so-called devotees in ISKCON, Gaur Gopal Das, Jay Shetty, and similar others, that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is directly talking against this kind of nonsense. So, for the time being, sweet sympathy. Even if under the spell of the enchantress they will fill heaven and, okay, you see, even if under the spell of the enchantress they fill heaven and earth with their loud protestations against our endeavors, we will still proclaim the message of the Amrita to them. Titikshavaha karunikaha. If the world is against the truth, I am against the world. But I am against the world. Whom am I for? Of course I am for Krishna, but I want to help the world by standing against them. They are wrong. And the whole world is wrong. The devotees are right. Now the devotees will stand against the world to save the world only from themselves. So this is Titikshava Karunika, tolerant and merciful at the same time. Even if under the spell of the enchantress they fill heaven and earth with their loud protestations against our endeavors, we will still proclaim the message of the Amrita to them. Even if it be contrary to the current of thoughts, of the religious or religiously minded people, as the term is understood by the world, or appear strange or wonderful to them, we will still forever practice and proclaim those religious works, the Sanatan Dharma made by God, the tidings of which are unknown to any of the rishis, gods, siddhas, and men. The Dharma, which, although it happens to be hidden, pure, difficult to understand, alone enables us to attain the Amrita. The Dharma that is the supreme Dharma of the Jiva, the Dharma to which all Jivas without exception have a claim, the Dharma to which everyone in the universe may have their heir. That Dharma is the object as well as the method of our endeavors. So, this is, I think it's quite clear. I hope you understood. So called religious people may even go against our mission, because in this world religiously minded people means somebody who wears like a religious person and talks something. They can't really judge. People can't judge a person who's truly knowledgeable about religious principles. He knows how to judge who is religious and who is not. So even if it be contrary to the current of thoughts of the religious or religiously minded people, as that term is understood by the world, or appear strange, even if we appear strange to them or wonderful to them, we will still forever practice and proclaim those religious works. That means there is no sugarcoating. Frankly speaking, the truth. No need to, you know, talk this motivational nonsense just to promote something else. No need to do anything. Oh, we appear strange, in one of the so-called gurus of ISKCON, Hridayananda Swami, he said, oh, if we wear our shikha, our robes and everything, people will get startled and a little bit, we will appear strange to them. So let's not startle them. Let's wear in their own, wear their own clothes, and don't, startle them too much. Don't shock them too much. And not only that, every other thing, every other aspect of Krishna consciousness, he similarly changed. So anyway, whatever the people may think, we basically don't care about their opinions. We care for them, we certainly do, but we don't care for their opinions. Just like doctor doesn't care for the opinion of the patient. The patient's opinion is he wants to eat nicely sweets, but he's a diabetic. So that is his opinion. A doctor says, no, you're not going to eat. So that is good for him. So he doesn't care about the opinion of the patient because he actually cares for the patient. That is our position. We don't care for the opinion of the world because we actually care for the world. Because their opinion is actually harmful to themselves. Self-inflicting opinions they have. So we don't subscribe or even slightly support their mandodayadaya. We always will proclaim amandodayadaya. Non-harm producing kindness. We are not advocates of harm producing kindness. The current that is sweeping the world, the flood on which it is adrift, the famine by which it is distressed, the want, fear, sorrow, delusion by which it is mastered, oppressed, and tortured, can be prevented, can be pulled up by the root by the method of moving homeward, of self surrender at the holy feet of the sorrowless and fearless Amrita, which is God. So, as long as we shall stay in the foreign land, the greater the distance and the speed with which we shall continue to run towards foreign lands and away from the direction of home with a capital H, so long and to the same extent, sorrow, fear, and delusion will not leave us. They will, on the contrary, mock us like the delusive deer by their further and steady increase. I hope that is clear, because it's actually clear. So this terrible world, this material world, which is filled with so many, fraught with so many painful conditions, can be prevented by pulling up the root by the method of moving homeward, back to Godhead. of self-surrender at the lotus feet of the holy feet of the sorrowless and fearless Amrita. Abhaya Charanaravindaré. Bhajahu Remana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanaravindaré. So long as we shall stay in the foreign land, it means this material world is a foreign land. We don't belong here actually. So long as we shall stay in the foreign land, the greater the distance and the speed with which we shall continue to run towards foreign lands and away from the direction of home, so long and to the same extent, sorrow, fear, and delusion will not leave us. They will, on the contrary, mock us like the delusive deer by their further and steady increase. Now, how to know that we're going farther from Godhead? Like, how many kilometers are we far away? Like, here I am, and other devotees there in the temple. Now, next building, or say next unit in the same building, they're very far away from Godhead compared to the devotees in the temple here. Although we are only like maybe few meters away from each other, but that person is very, very far away. So, what does far and near mean here? Once I actually did an illustration. I don't know if I still have it. Um, all kinds of things. This is also not. This is also not. Where did I do that? I don't know where I did that, but never mind. So, okay, let me just maybe explain it. So, farther and closer. Shuddha Sattva, Vasudeva Sthiti is where Krishna is. Sattva Gun is the closest. Okay, we can understand, I think, by the example of an airport. Now, if I go to the Singapore airport, Changi Airport, the name of this airport here is Changi Airport. Apparently, the best airport in the world at the moment. So, if I go to that airport, from that airport, I am closer to London or say Delhi. I'm closer to Delhi than compared to sitting in this room. Although Singapore to Delhi is the same distance, whether I sit here or whether I sit in the airport. But in the airport, I am much nearer to Delhi because I'm just 4 hours away from Delhi. Whereas if I sit here, I did not even buy a ticket, first of all, So it's much farther. So in this material world, from here we have to go to the spiritual world. The spiritual world is Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam. So Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness, is is the mode in which the spiritual world is existing. Now in this material world there is Tamogun, Rajogun, Sattvagun. So Sattvagun is like the airport. It's not spiritual, but it's the closest to the spiritual. It is at the airport. And then if we take actually, the mercy of the spiritual master, we become his disciple, and then we will board the plane and we actually will go to spiritual world. So mode of goodness is nearest to the spiritual world, although it is still very far. Passion and ignorance is just very far. So to go farther and into the foreign lands means to go further and further into the modes of passion and ignorance. Rajastamo bhava, kamalobha, kamalobhadayaschaye, cheta eteranavidham sthitam sattve prasidati. This rajastamo bhava, tada rajastamo bhava, tamogun, these two are the ones which are far away from the spiritual world. Just imagine the cockroach, how far away. The cockroach may be in the same room as the devotee. But how far away? Maybe if he hears the holy name, then maybe some benefit is there, of course. Not maybe. There is benefit. But can he really hear? What is he hearing actually? I don't know. So ants are there, all kind of, dog is there, cat is there, here and there. So they're so far away from Krishna. What to speak of cats and dogs? Human beings themselves, all kinds of rajogun and tamogun activities they are indulging in, very far away. So that is called far away in the matter of guna. So the more they go away into the passion ignorance, the more, to the same extent, sorrow, fear, and delusion will not leave us. That means they will increase, like the delusive deer by their further and steady increase. When you try to catch a deer will go faster and faster and faster away. The Shruti says, Dvitiyad vai bhayam bhavati. Dvitiyad vai bhayam bhavati. This is very similar to, and it is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Interesting, because bhayam, um, bhayam dvitiyabhiniveshatah syat ishadapetasya viparyayo smritihi. So 11 to 37 Srimad Bhagavatam says, fear arises when one moves away from Krishna consciousness. So Dvitiya, if they have any different conception, there is something else than Krishna. If we have such a conception, bhayam starts. That means only when one comes to the point where Krishna is everything, everything Vasudeva, Vasudeva Sarvamiti. When we come to that point only, there will be complete fearlessness. Until then, there will be fear. Dvitiyad vai bhayam bhavati. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Fear must result from the perception of a second entity different from Godhead. Death cannot be abolished from this mundane world by no amount of efforts of the united jivas of the whole universe. The threefold misery can be banished to the Andamans. Now, what is this banished to the Andamans? Andaman and Nicobar Islands, they belong to India on the eastern side, very near, much nearer to Singapore than the Indian main subcontinent. Now, this Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and especially Andamans, were the prison, the concentration camp of the Britishers, and they used to punish the most serious criminals in Andamans. And even great freedom fighters of India, they were actually put in Kalapani. Kalapani is the torture camp, concentration camp in Andaman Island. And people say that even now, when you go there, in fact, yesterday also when Mataji was here, she said that recently they went to Andaman and they saw the Kalapani. It was very, very distressing. And anybody who goes there, they say that, wow, this place is just so distressing. Even the look of it. And they used to spend years and sometimes decades until their death, they would stay there. So people were tortured like that in the Andamans. So he's saying, so because it was that colonial time, you see, 1920, 1929, 27, this issue was written. So that time Andamans was the the banish. If people were banished, they will be banished to the Andamans, and that's it. You will never hear of them again. So he's saying that no amount of endeavor, even with the collective endeavor of all jivas of the entire universe, can uproot the threefold misery and be banished to the Andamans. So the threefold miseries cannot be banished even by the collective efforts of all the jivas. No one can extinguish the fire of Ravana's funeral pyre. It is the water well cooled by contact with the feet of Sri Ramachandra that alone has the power to quench it. Once the world is fairly embarked on the high tide of the holy name, the insignificant worldly flood retires forthwith. If the alms in the shape of the glorification of the songs of Hari become easily procurable, the little famines will leave us for good as a mere attendant result. What does that mean? So if we take to Krishna consciousness, all these, tapatraya, which is miseries caused by self or others or by the arrangement of the supernatural powers of the demigods will be no more if people become Krishna conscious. To prevent floods, you need to chant Hare Krishna, not do some dams or some dikes, build some this and that infrastructure projects. No, no, no. Chant Hare Krishna, you will get all necessities of life. This is the mission, our Gaudiya mission, and it is not for getting supplies of life that we have to chant Hare Krishna. It will come as an attendant result. That means as a side effect. When one chants Hare Krishna, one cultivates one's eternal relationship with Krishna, and as a side effect, all other calamities will subside. Why are there calamities? Because of accumulated sinful reactions of people, and they come to torment the people as the fruit of their karma. Now Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. So I will rid you of all sinful reactions. And therefore these big um, now they're saying climate change and this and that, they're fighting environmental issues, and they're thinking they're doing big things. But actually none of it is required. If one just chants Hare Krishna, climate will be very good. Yeah. Now you may say, how is it possible? It doesn't even sound logical. The logic is this, that everything belongs to Krishna. Krishna can do whatever he wants. And if he is angered, then he will switch up the heat. Not just in the matter of climate change or what. Switch up the heat. That means the suffering will increase. He can cool it down also. If his anger subsides, then he can cool it down. So we have to do that. We have to subside his anger by chanting his name. That's it. Very simple. That is the logic. It is perfectly logical. In fact, what they are doing, trying to do this and that, is stupid. It's absolutely stupid. They have no idea how actually things work. So once the world is fairly embarked on the high tide of the holy name, the insignificant worldly flood retires forthwith. If the alms in the shape of the glorification of the songs of Hari become easily procurable, the little famines will leave us for good as a mere attendant result. With the appearance of sorrow, delusion, fear killing bhakti. Sorrow hyphen delusion hyphen fear killing bhakti. Shoka moha bhayapaha. That is where he took it from. This. यस्यां वै श्रूयमाणायां कृष्णे परमपुरुषे भक्तिरुत्पद्यते पुंसां शोकमोहभयापहा. Simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. Lamentation is sorrow, illusion is bewilderment, and fearfulness is fear. So, the sorrow, bewilderment, and fear, or delusion and fear. With the appearance of sorrow, delusion, fear killing bhakti, devotional faith, avidya, nescience, the root of every form of misery of the jiva, is destroyed and the soul is well satisfied. Bhakti is like fire. Nothing else can purify gold in the manner that fire can. Without bhakti yoga, association of bhakti, other forms of effort are meaningless, like the attempt to refine gold by the application of tamarind, earth, or ashes. Now, if you know, silver and brass and copper, you can actually clean them, polish them, or rather clean them by application of tamarind, ashes, or earth. You can clean them and they will become shiny again. But he is saying you cannot do that to gold. To purify gold, you have to put it in fire. That's interesting. In fact, here we have silver utensils of Krishna. So our devotees who are in the puja department, they know that they have to polish the silver with that ashes. the vibhuti, that can be used to purify silver. And tamarind can be used to purify brass and copper. But gold, apparently, you can't, you see. You can only do by fire. So, in other words, other forms of effort are meaningless, like the attempt to refine gold by the application of tamarind, earth, or ashes. So, other means will not actually subside any suffering. No. So, they are actually mandodayadaya. Amandodayadaya is only Krishna consciousness. Okay, now going to next um, section of this essay. To imagine Arthavad in regard to the holy name, or in other words, to imagine that the glorification of the name is mere exaggeration of praise, is that godless intellectual attitude which gives rise to our belief in other tangible forms of effort. Very, very nicely put. Now, fifth offense, every morning we chant, we repeat, what are the offenses to be avoided while chanting the holy name? Not only while chanting, but in our life as a devotee, we should avoid this. What is that? One of them is Arthavada, or what is that? Kalpanik. If we consider the glorification, the glories of the holy name as mere exaggerations. Now we have, I'll give you an example now. See, one of the glories of the holy name is that just by chanting, one can achieve all perfection of life and one can go back to God. Now, a devotee may think that he is not committing this offense of considering the glories of the holy name to be exaggeration. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, I believe that by chanting we can go back to Godhead and nothing else is necessary. That same devotee, though, may send his children to school and push them for material excellence, educational, academic excellence. That means he's actually thinking that there is another way to live life than to chant the holy name, and that is to absorb oneself in the stupid academic excellence of this material world and waste our time. If he thinks that academic excellence is the way to go forward in life, that means he has no faith in the holy name. He is considering the holy name, glories of the holy name, to be exaggerations. No faith. Because if one really has faith, one will cast away everything else and take to Krishna consciousness without anything, without any other measure. This is important. So sometimes we don't even know that we're committing this offense. We're so ignorant that we can't even see. When we have faith in any other process, thinking that that is good, other than Harinam, something else which is good, or technological advancement is good, or this good, that good. Nothing is good in this world. Even the endeavor to attain moksha is not good. What to speak of all this, anything else? Then, what is the real thing then? Only Hare Kirtan, chanting of Hare Krishna. That is the only thing good in this world. Even the ritualistic ceremonies of the dharma, artha, kama, moksha, ritualistic karma kanda ceremonies, useless, useless. You may say, hey, that is given in the Vedas. How can you say useless? They are pravritti marga. Yes, they are there for the less intelligent class of men to elevate them. But to attain the ultimate goal of life, it is useless. Hmm. Prabhuji, so kids shouldn't be sent to take the basic education from school to understand and read Bhagavad Gita and other related to Krishna consciousness. How they will understand basic things about Krishna consciousness? So, actually, Prabhupada's system is that all that they need to learn should be taught in our own Gurukul. In fact, um, there should be some kind of a movement or some kind of a legislation. It has to be pushed in the government itself to allow this kind of Gurukul system to work again, not this Western education system which is stupid. And in that Gurukul system, they can always be taught English, they can always be taught Sanskrit and Bengali and other regional languages, and at the same time our scriptures and everything from the day one. So that is the system that we should have. Okay, what to do if that system is not in place? Like an ISKM, we don't have a dedicated Gurukul anywhere. What to do? So that's why I actually recently spoke to Karunamai Mataji. The only other option we have is homeschooling, where that also we need to know how to do it properly. Otherwise, the parents themselves cannot handle it. So she is doing that with her kids, and there are other devoted children also with ISKCON as well who are trying to do this. They have some Facebook groups and all of that, and they have curriculums. They have some structure going on. So advice can be taken from there, some tips. So I asked actually Karunamai Mataji to compile a sort of structure on how to do this. In fact, she pointed me to a book which I need to purchase to look at it myself, and I think maybe that can be shared with the devotees as well on how to conduct. We should be serious. We should be serious in this. We cannot say that yeah actually we don't have Gurukul. So yeah, we'll go just to the ordinary schools and go to the universities and find a girlfriend or boyfriend and then do everything like everybody rest of people do, and then just live like this. Because we don't have Gurukul. No? So yeah, after that do some donation to the temple. We should not be so loose with our thinking. We should always think how to make it happen. So we are not saying that they should not be educated. They should be educated in as much as it is required to understand our scriptures and the world a little bit. In fact, not a little bit. Where they will understand everything about the world if they learn from our perspective. Whereas in the other perspective, you actually don't understand. In fact, now I'm realizing that what we were taught in our schools was farce. We were taught that man came from animals. We were taught that man landed on the moon in 1969. We were taught that our history, yes, at least in India, we were not taught any history of the saints, of the big sadhus that were there. Ramanujacharya's life, Madhvacharya's life, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life, Vallabhacharya or Tukaram, Mirabai, or so many, all the Goswamis, and so many devotees all over India. We learned none of their lives. We learned none of the history, even concerning the wars that took place and how they defended our Sanatan Dharma. We were only taught how the invaders invaded our country, and we were just like stupid people who just got run over by these invaders, and we were like in some uncivilized people, and we were taught some civility by these invaders. That's what we were taught. So we were actually taught a farce. We were taught a narrative that was being pushed. They had an agenda. Now we actually should, and also the system is so interconnected that when you apply for a job, first of all, there is a Shudra job, and the education is only given to produce Shudras. No education for Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, nothing. Huh? Especially for the Brahmanas, no education for them. And so it's a very lopsided education system, and it is geared towards producing slaves. If you are sending your child to school, you are sending him to a slaughterhouse. Prabhupada said that. 1:1:22 purport. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.22 purport. Slaughterhouses of so-called education. They're being slaughtered. They're put in the conveyor belt, and then they come out, they become slaves, and then we are basically the capitalist agenda of the Western world are employing us as slaves. Why should we be part of that system? We should start our system, or revive rather our system, which is the proper system of religion based governance, where economy is not the benchmark of advancement. Like recently, Narendra Modi and one of his cabinet, not cabinet really, one of his departments head. He is in charge of the industrial, how to say, to prepare corridors for economic investments in India. That means, for example, if Apple company wants to set up a factory in India, so to make this process smooth for them, there is a department in the government for that, and all kinds of such technological, basically technological digitization of India and all of that. Now, when he was giving speech, Narendra Modi also echoed this that now India is the greatest consumer of data, mobile data, Indian, in the world, and that is shown as a great brag. Oh, we are the greatest consumers of data today. Is that a good thing? These numbers don't mean anything. What are people doing with the data? How religious? How much of that data is spent in tamogun, rajogun, sattvagun, and shuddha sattvagun? That needs to be evaluated. That needs to be evaluated. So just these numbers, oh, because we're largest, therefore we're the best country in the world. What is that? Hmm? And they say, oh, we have done, our exports has been this much, our imports have been this much. They're giving numbers, figures. What kind of exports are you doing? You're exporting beef also, isn't it? So India is exporting beef from Kerala. I think beef is going, I think, second largest producer of beef, or I don't know, something. Some numbers are there somewhere in the top 10, definitely, producers of beef in the world. What kind of export? And you're counting that as part of the nation's economy. That's why this is rascaldom, absolute crap. So when we learn this education, when we go to schools, this is the kind of education we are taught, and we are also taught to think like that. That this is advancement, this is progress. So why should we actually subscribe to this so-called school system? We should have our own, and we should fight for it. If that system cannot exist in a country, especially in India, if it cannot exist, because you see now even Vrindavan Gurukul and Mayapur Gurukul, from what I understand, they also have the material curriculum also. We don't want like that. We just want our way of teaching, our sampradaya way of teaching. That's it. Proper Gurukul system. Why we want to mix up? Why we want to make this compromise? We don't want to compromise. We want to be the standard of education. We're not we're not asking for an alternative education system. No. Ours should be the standard. That's what we need to go to, and we should think like that from day one. Although we are not there yet. Then what must be done in order to give kids the correct education? What steps must be taken up? So as I already said, homeschooling for now is the best way forward, but it must be done right. um, and that's why I'm saying there are some manual from, I think, one Mataji in ISKCON. She did one a guidebook for parents, most importantly, on how to even first of all have the right mindset towards it, and have the determination towards it, and not just given, oh yeah, I know it's too difficult, let's just put the kid in a school now. So don't look for easy alternatives, easy path of least resistance. Don't go for it. Do all that it takes, because it's said in the Bhagavatam, don't become a father and mother if you cannot deliver your dependents. That should be at the in our focus when we raise kids. So they must be given the proper thing. So of course, Prabhupada's Gurukul system there's so many instructions on Prabhupada's Gurukul. So we have to have a structure, or at least a guideline, a framework for how to do homeschooling. And that is why I asked Karunamai Mataji. I'll be following up with her. And Nimanita Prabhu is doing very well in China with his son. Karunamai Mataji is doing very well with her sons in Australia. So their combined input and from Prabhupada's instructions, of course, they will also take from Prabhupada's instructions, and also what people are already doing, what parents are already doing to raise their children in Krishna consciousness. And we also want to see whether it is really good, up to standard or not yet, because sometimes I see ISKCON children, sometimes they're not up to the mark also. So, so we want to see. So then in that way, we can have a system. At least if you are, see, already we have Nimanita Prabhu and Karunamai Mataji doing it. So we don't have like a written down system, but they figured it out because they were interested in doing it. In fact, the other day, Karunamai Mataji was telling me in the chat, she said, no matter what, I'm not going to send them to the school, Karmi school. That is the attitude we must have. That is the attitude we must have. Not that, it's okay, no, Prabhu. In fact, one Mataji told me, oh, by Krishna's mercy, my son got a free seat in Cambridge University, Prabhu. I said, by Krishna's mercy. I asked, what is he studying? Artificial intelligence. I said, he will lose his real intelligence by going there. Prabhu, yes, Prabhu, actually, yeah, right. But there's no seriousness in that. The feeling is that Krishna has given the blessing that he has gone to Cambridge University. Come on. Still the colonial mindset. Cambridge means top class. Although all kinds of rascals will come out of that, top class. By character, I'm saying. They may be skilled in their own whatever disciplines. But by character, what is the character? How religious are they? How Krishna conscious are they? Or rather, how atheistic are they? They become atheistic when they come out of these universities. They think they're the top of the world, they're gods, academic gods. And they become atheistic. So, we don't have any high regards for these universities. In the material aspect, maybe they are, of big repute. But in our eyes, we should not have that same idea about them. Roji, when it comes to giving this kind of education to kids, so we can give it equally to both boys and girls, or girls must be only taught household things? No, so girls must be taught. I mean, they can be, of course, taught. We have to also see the mentality of the child, whether boy or girl. If they are, sometimes even boys may be not so much into shastric study and all of that. They may be more into, hands-on. They are very resourceful with their hands, or managing things. People are different at different things, good at different things. So that's why Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra are there. So we must see. And women, yeah, they must be taught, of course, our stories of Krishna, philosophy a little bit and everything. And they must be especially taught in all household chores. It's not that the boys should not be taught. Boys also should learn how to cook, because that is also part of temple life. Because here we cook for the Lord. Here we sweep the floor and mop the floor. That's not only household duties. So they can also learn. Everybody should learn. But some things, of course, boys can do. Girls maybe cannot. Huh? And some things more apt for girls, maybe like stitching. They can in the future sew some dainty dresses, dainty clothes. So as they grow up more and more, so other things, there may be some branching out. Like boys maybe trying to like help the devotees, like in building certain things, like um, you know, or taking care of the cows, stuff like that. I mean, even women can do that. In fact, in Indian households, women milk the cows in the morning. That also is done. So anyway, seeing the aptitude and seeing what can be taught, and it has to be taught. Of course, some basic should be basic for both, and after that they'll be branching out to different things. Okay. Another book is Art of Parenting: Principles and Practices by Disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Okay. We have to see something, and then we'll see all these works, and then maybe it's a compilation of Prabhupada's instructions according to topic wise or whatever. So we have to see all this, um, and that homeschooling framework, that kind of thing. So in different countries, the laws are also different. So that's another thing to look out for, and how to do it in countries where it is a little bit more tougher. So all that we have to figure out. So each individual country will be different laws. So anyway, the point is, coming back to the point of the article, um, to think that other than Krishna consciousness, any other thing is worthwhile. Now, maybe we are stuck in something, some mode of work or something like that, out of circumstantial reasons, but we should not think that that is the way forward. And if we can come out of it, we should, you know, and focus on Krishna consciousness. Those who do not have full faith, they think as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying, if they think there is exaggeration, the glories of the holy name, then they will also take to other means, thinking that they are also important, they are also necessary, this and that, this and that. So let me read that again. To imagine arthavad in regard to the holy name, or in other words, to imagine that the glorification of the name is mere exaggeration of praise, is that godless intellectual attitude which gives rise to our belief in other tangible forms of effort. In our temple, milking the cows, everyone struggles. Yeah, because we're not used to it. I would struggle myself. I mean, I never went near cows in my life. I was a city boy and I grew up like that. I never had touch with rural lifestyle. I regret it. I know nothing about farming, nothing about cow protection, zero. Intellectual hero, practical zero. This was my tagline since I was a teen. People used to call me theoretical hero, practical zero. So practically, I was useless for all practical purposes. Theoretically, yeah, scoring marks in the class, being the first to tell the answer in the class of a maths equation. These kind of things I was doing. But practically, what is the real use of that, honestly? And I was thinking I was a big hero doing all of that. And I, in fact, thought that that is high class. And, village, all this low class. Now I realize that village is actually high class, natural way, much more natural and everything. Now I have zero knowledge of that. Completely buddhu in that aspect. So that's why actually I'm interested in farming. I'm interested in learning how to take care of the cows. I am actually. In fact, just a little bit of just 2 days of experience I had in New Zealand when I went there in the year 2012. I remember, 11 years back. So I went there. No, 2013 I think. No, 2012. Yeah, 2012. So I went to New Zealand, and there they had a farm at the time. So I was helping that Prabhu. There was one Balaram Prabhu. So I was helping him harvest some potatoes from the ground. I was so happy actually that whole day. My dhoti, always everything was like fully soiled, but I was very happy. I did something with nature, Finally, of course, I did not like the fact that it was there was a tractor involved in that. I did not drive the tractor, but I was just like on the ground picking out potatoes and like putting them in the baskets and all of that. At least I saw how potatoes like come out of the land. That itself was a huge deal for me. For rural people, there's like nothing. What? Come on, what are you saying? I know, but for me, that's a big deal. So, anyway, coming back, we think that we think that the work of glorification, preaching, etc., of the name of Hari is not conducive to the general good. Or again, we may think sometimes that the glorification and preaching of the name is on a level with other kinds of effort. The first is arthavad in regard to the name. The second is the aparad offense of believing the name as equal to other good works. Eighth offense, to consider the whole chanting of Hare Krishna to be one of the auspicious ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities or karma kanda. So, this is all offenses. To have faith in the holy name is so very rare that we may leave it out of consideration. If we had, oh, he's saying having to have faith in the holy name is so rare that we may leave it out of consideration. We may take it for granted that nobody will have faith in holy name. So now how? What is the way out then? He's saying, if we had faith even in Namabhas, the most dimly perceived name, we would have never said that succoring the victims of floods is better than kirtan and prachar, singing and preaching God. You see, if we had faith even in Namabhas, we would have never said that succoring. Is that the way we should pronounce it? Let me find out what is succoring. Saving, maybe. Succoring the victims of flood.
Succor.
Succor. Okay. Succoring. Succoring. Or occurring. Succoring. Something like that. We would have never said that succoring the victims of flood is better than kirtan. Assistance and support in times of hardship and distress. Succor. So, to have faith in the holy name is so very rare that women. Okay, if we had faith even in Nama Bhas, we would have never said that succoring the victims of floods is better than kirtan and prachar. Freeing the country from famines, opening of hospitals are better than preaching devotion to God. We would have never said so if we had faith in even Nama Bhas. Hundreds of famines, this is very important. Hundreds of famines can be got rid of, not by Nama Bhas, but even by Nama Aparadh. Powerful. Powerful. What is that? Hundreds of famines can be got rid of, not by Nama Bhas, but even by Nama Aparadh. Offensive taken to the name. You see? That is how powerful the holy name is. Hundreds of famines. The mukti that is not obtained in crores of births by Brahmagyan, knowledge of Brahman, can be had by one single Namabhas. This is no exaggeration. This alone is the only true message. Sri Gaurasundar, the savior of Kali Yuga Avatari, the source of incarnations, by means of Namacharya, the teacher of the name, by his own personal example, Sri Haridas Thakur Haridas, has borne testimony to it. Yes. This is the verse. Actually, I'll show you 3 verses. This is the direct verse which he's talking about. CC Antya 3.181. Amha samharadakhilam sakrad udayadeva sakalalokasya taranirivati mirajaladhim jayati jaganmangalam harer nama. As the rising sun immediately dissipates all the world's darkness, which is deep like an ocean, so the holy name of the Lord, if chanted once without offenses, dissipates all the reactions of a living being's sinful life. All glories to that holy name of the Lord, which is auspicious for the entire world. Of course, there are other verses. I think we don't have so much time. We don't have the luxury of time. So we will proceed further. Adopting the Jain view, aggravated by the bad logic of purveyors of vulgar news, neither Chaitanya Deva nor any of his devotees was ever in a hurry to prevent flood or famine or to found hospitals, nor did they give any other advice to anyone except telling all men at all times and places, Kalikale naam bina nahi ar dharma, खाइते शुइते यथा तथा नाम लय देश काल पात्र नाही सर्व सिद्धि होय जारे देखा तारे कहा कृष्ण उपदेश हमार आज्ञा गुरु है तार ए देश उच्च संकीर्तन न ताते करिले प्रचार स्थिर चर जीवेर खंडाइले संसार भारत भूमिते होइले मनुष्य जन्म जार जन्म सार्थक करे करो परोपकार. This is from Chaitanya Bhagavat. These are actually Bengali, but written in Hindi script or Sanskrit script, Devanagari script. So the translation. This is our only mission. What is that? To proclaim this. In the Kali Yuga, there is no other dharma except uttering the name of Krishna. Taking the name in whatever place, whether eating or sleeping, irrespective of time, place, person, all is fulfilled. Everything is fulfilled. Whomsoever thou meetst, instruct him about Krishna. By my command, being Guru, save this land. Thou didst proclaim the high Sankirtan and cancel the worldly course of jivas moving or motionless. You or ye that are born as men in the land of Bharat, attaining the significance of human life, do good unto others. So, there is no dharma of the jiva except kirtan, singing God. To the extent that one disbelieves bhakti, devotion, as denoted by kirtan or the holy name, in other words, those who think that all wants cannot be fulfilled by kirtan, to that extent are such people nastic, atheistic, atheistical. Very powerful words. I mean, this apply even to devotees. I'll repeat that. To the extent that one disbelieves bhakti, devotion, as denoted by kirtan or the holy name, in other words, those who think that all wants cannot be fulfilled by kirtan, to that extent are such people nastic or atheistical. So, a real astic means one who has complete faith in the holy name. So, we are all different degrees of nastic. We are moving towards astic, but we are kind of still in the nastic phase. We don't have full faith, you see. The degree of help one gives in the propagation of bhakti, as denoted by kirtan, is the sole measure of one's belief in God. What is that? The degree of help, the degree of help one gives in the propagation of bhakti, as denoted by kirtan, is the sole measure of one's belief in God. How much one dedicates oneself to the Sankirtan movement is the sole measure of one's belief in God. So we can just examine ourselves. How much am I dedicating actually? My time, my thoughts, my work, my fruits of my action, everything that is part of my life. How much I am dedicating it to help the mission of Sankirtan movement? How much I am doing it? That is the belief, sole measure of one's belief in God. Nothing else. On the other hand, a man is a Gnostic disbeliever to the extent that he obstructs Kirtan. As the name has to be taken every moment, even while eating or sleeping. See how Krishna conscious we must be. Prabhupada said, between two morsels we take, there should be Hare Krishna chanting. That is the level of which we have to do. Every moment chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Like that. As the name has to be taken every moment, even while eating or sleeping, as bhakti denoted by kirtan is the only dharma of the jiva, as there is no other dharma except this, where is then time for getting rid of flood or famine or founding hospitals? When every moment we have to chant, where is the time for founding hospitals or getting rid of flood or famine? In fact, you may say, hey, this is stupid. Hey, people are suffering. You are saying, you have no time for it. And you're just sitting down and doing chanting. Well, if everybody chants, there will be no flood. You also come and chant. That is our program. That is our propaganda. Those who claiming to be positivists, so-called optimistic people about the material world, people who are optimistic about the material world, they are called positivists here by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Those who claiming to be positivists are forgetful of the greatest of all facts, viz. Death. Those who, being fallen like the blind man led by the blind under the spell of the enchantress means Maya, loiter about like travelers without an objective, vagabonds on other hand. In other words. loiter about like travelers without an objective. It is such people that have time for work other than Hare Kirtan, singing Hari. Very strong words. I mean, those who are doing anything else here, very strong. I mean, let's read that again. On the other hand, a man is a Gnostic disbeliever to the extent that he obstructs Kirtan, as the name has to be taken every moment, even while eating or sleeping, as Bhakti denoted by Kirtan is the only dharma of Jiva, as there is no other dharma except this. Where is then the time for getting rid of flood or famine or founding hospitals? Those who are claiming to be positivists are forgetful of the greatest of all facts, viz. Death. Those who, being fallen like the blind man led by the blind under the spell of the enchantress, loiter about like travelers without an objective. It is such people that have time for work other than Hari Kirtan, singing Hari. All other efforts, with the exception of Hari Kirtan, are the cause of samsara, the worldly sojourn. Sojourn means the journey. The road leading not to the east, but in the opposite direction. On the other hand, all time Hari Kirtan, that means Kirtaniya Sadahari, constant Hari Kirtan, is turning away from every other direction to face the east or journey homeward. Why he said east as being the journey homeward? There is a reason. And the reason is in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I think Leela, chapter 20, I think text 131, around there. You see, the following ihate drishtanta jaise daridrer ghare sarvagya asi dukha dekhi puchhay tare. The following parable may be given. Once a learned astrologer came to the house of a poor man and seeing his distressed condition questioned him. Sometimes we go to an astrologer or palmist when we are in distressed condition or when we want to know the future. The living entity in conditioned life is always distressed by the threefold miseries of material existence. Under the circumstances, he is inquisitive about his position. So anyway, this you can read. So there was this parable story. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking to Sanatana Goswami this whole thing. So he came to a house of a poor man astrologer and seeing his distressed condition questioned him. The astrologer asked, "Why are you unhappy? Your father was very wealthy, but he did not disclose his wealth to you because he died elsewhere." Just as the words of the astrologer Sarvagya means he who is the knower of everything. Just as the words of the astrologer Sarvagya gave news of the poor man's treasure, the Vedic literatures advise one about Krishna consciousness when one is inquisitive to know why he is in a distressed material condition. So the Vedas have such map, a treasure map. So now there has to be a treasure hunt. Now, by the words of the astrologer, the poor man's connection with the treasure was established. Similarly, the Vedic literature advises us that our real connection is with Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, you may go and read this purports as a homework, but I'm just going to skim to the next one. बापेर धन अच्छे ज्ञाने धन नाहे पाए तबे सर्वज्ञ कहे तार प्राप्तिर उपाय. Although being assured of his father's treasure, the poor man cannot acquire this treasure by such knowledge alone. Therefore, the astrologer had to inform him of the means whereby he could actually find the treasure. To know that Krishna is our real treasure is not enough. How to achieve now Krishna? So, Sambandha is one thing, then Abhidheya is the another thing. How to actually revive that relationship with Krishna. Now, this poor man, he came to know of his relationship with the treasure, where his father's treasure is there. But how to attain it? Where to go? How? Where did he hide it? Don't know. How to actually go? And that is Abhidheya is there, is given. এই স্থানে আছে ধন যদি দক্ষিণে খুদিবে ভীমরুল ভীমরুল বরুলি উঠিবে ধন না পাইবে. The astrologer said the treasure is in this place, But if you dig toward the southern side, the wasps and drones will rise and you will not get your treasure. पश्चिमे खुदिबे ताहा यक्ष एक होय সেই বিঘ্ন করিবে ধনে হাত না পড়য়. If you dig on the western side, there is a ghost who will create such a disturbance that your hands will not even touch the treasure. उत्तरे खुदिले आछे कृष्ण अजगरे धन नाहे पावे खुदिते गिलिबे सवारे. If you dig on the northern side, there is a big black snake that will devour you if you attempt to dig up the treasure. पूर्व दिके ताते माटी अल्प खुदिते धनेर झारी पड़िबेक तुम्हार हाथेते. अल्प खुदिते means, however, if you dig up a small quantity of dirt on the eastern side, your hands will immediately touch the pot of treasure. What is the meaning of all this? So, of course, this purport is quite long and it explains quite nicely. I'll just summarize, or shall we read this whole thing? Okay, just let's read. The Vedic literatures, including the Puranas, state that according to the position of the conditioned soul, there are different processes. Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, the yogic process, and the Bhakti Yoga process. Karma Kanda is compared to wasps and drones that will simply bite if one takes shelter of them. Jnana Kanda, the speculative process, is simply like a ghost who creates mental disturbances. Yoga, the mystic process, is compared to a black snake that devours people by the impersonal cultivation of Kaivalya. However, if one takes to Bhakti Yoga, he becomes quickly successful. Alpa khudite. Alpa khudite. Means even little bit you dig the dirt here, you will find treasure. That means in Bhakti Yoga, we don't have to dig very deep. We don't have to put in too much effort. Susukham kartum avyayam. It is full of happiness, even from the beginning. And without much endeavor, one will have access to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that is the whole summary of this. I think the rest of it, there is actually more detailed description of the same four things, but you get the idea. Yeah. So you can read that. That's a very important verse. That is 20 dot. Those few verses you see until 135, and even I think maybe after that. Yeah, until 135, like that. So you can go and read that. Okay. So that is what is being referred to here. You see, actually we wouldn't know unless we have read Prabhupada's books. We wouldn't know what he's actually meaning east. What is his east? And later on, he actually says wasps and ghost and that also he says. So anyway, if we did not know this context, then we wouldn't know. Of course, the message is there, but when we understand what he's talking about, this is the pastime. This is the teaching that he was referring to. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings to Sanatana Goswami. Okay, so all the efforts, with the exception of Hare Kirtan, are the cause of samsara, the worldly sojourn. The road leading not to the east but in the opposite direction. On the other hand, all-time Hare Kirtan, constant Hare Kirtan, is turning away from every other direction to face the east or journey homeward. The Gaudiya Maṭha is the missionary of this all-time Kirtan, constant Kirtan. Kirtaniya Sadahari. The Gaudiya Maṭha does not ask to destroy all efforts of the world, but to deflect their course. We are not asking to destroy everything that we have built. No, deflect the course to Krishna. The Gaudiya Maṭha begs every one of us to offer his all to Krishna. The dhoom dham or pomp and display of the Gaudiya Maṭha is for the sole purpose of making all efforts of the world Krishnapara, having Krishna as their goal. The dhoom dham. So we do big festivals, big projects, temple projects and everything. Dhoom dham, so much grandeur. That is to engage people in the service of Krishna. Of course, the Lord should be glorified as much as possible, but the Lord actually is satisfied with just simple glorification even in one's own heart. But why then should we conduct such pompous festivals and everything? in such grand scale. That is because when there is that kind of service, then everybody comes forward and everybody can be induced to serve. So that is the thing that is he saying. Is for the sole purpose, the dhoom dham or pomp and display of the Gaudiya Math is for the sole purpose of making all efforts of the world Krishna para, having Krishna as their goal. The offering to Krishna comes first, and after the offering has been made, bhakti begins. The Gaudiya Math says, make the offering to Krishna first, and after that has been done, profess to be a bhakta, devotee. Then you profess to be a bhakta. Without that, you're not bhakta. What bhakta? The Gaudiya Math says, do not imitate the kirtan kari, one who does kirtan. Don't imitate the pure devotee. Dhang, burlesque, is the other name of anukaran, imitation. Burlesque means a comical imitation, like caricatures, doing caricatures and imitating in an exaggerated way. Dhang, burlesque, is the other name of anukaran, imitation. By arraying oneself in the trappings of dhang or shang, harlequin. Harlequin means, I looked up, it was, I think, dumb. People can be deceived, but no good is done either to oneself or to others. So, by imitation or by refraining from, following, one can do no good. By ignoring and by imitation, we can do no good. Harlequin.
Harlequin.
Harlequin. A mute character in traditional pantomime. Okay, yeah. Typically masked and dressed in a diamond pattern costume. Okay. That means by Maunavrata, by refraining from any um, emulation of the pure devotee, or by burlesque of the pure devotee, by imitating the pure devotee, both will not give any good result. By arraying oneself in the trappings of dhang or shang, I don't know what language is this. I don't even know I'm pronouncing in them correctly. Um, People can be deceived, but no good is done either to oneself or to others. It is those who follow the kirtankari that are really their own benefactors or properly alive to self interest, and also benefactors of others or mindful of others' interests. So the follower, Anusharan, he who does Anusharan, he is the proper recipient and he will understand and he's actually concerned for his own well-being and also for others. They are not blinded by considerations of undue personal advantages, nor do they cheat others, and are therefore truly disinterested. What is disinterested? That means they have no other motive. It's not that they're not interested in spreading the holy name. No, no, no. That's not the meaning here. Disinterested means they don't have any personal interest in the matter. They have nothing to gain. They have no ahai to key, no hetu, no personal motivation. That is the interest or motivation. Motive. What is the motive in doing this? Krishna Bhakti. Unmotivated. What is the intention? What is the interest? What is your interest in this? Nothing. Disinterested. So that is the meaning of this word disinterested. Not that oh, he's truly disinterested. He's completely no interest at all. No. No motive. It is by kirtan alone that the claims of self-interest, interests of others, and disinterestedness are simultaneously satisfied. True. One self-interest is Vishnu. Interest of others is also Vishnu. And disinterestedness means there's lack of sense gratification. That means only Anukulyana Krishnanushilanam, Jnana Karma Dhanavritam. So that is, all three of them are same now. Self-interest, interest of others, and disinterested. But in the material plane, if you see the three words, they are completely different meanings. Self-interest means those who are, interested in their own advancement at the cost of others. And those who have interest of others, they try to do some philanthropic activities. Those who are self-interested, they want to be competitive and be the best. Those who want to do interest of others, they try to do some philanthropy. And disinterestedness, they are just like neutral party who are just going 9 to 5, 9 to 5, like just corporate rat race, just like not even rat race, just like living dead, like zombies basically. But in the Krishna consciousness, self-interest, interests of others, and disinterestedness are simultaneously satisfied. Beautiful. So when we perform Krishna Kirtan and preach Krishna consciousness, we are becoming purified. The other person is also becoming purified, and we are not having any other motive. We are being purified of all kinds of lusty motives or lusty interests in the matter, and we are just serving Krishna. So all are happening at the same time. Beautiful, right? So bhoga, enjoyment or mukti, freedom from misery in the shape of prevention of famines, etc., is gained by nama aparad, offensively taking to the name. Again, you see, again he's repeating the same thing. Bhog, that means enjoyment and freedom from misery in the shape of prevention of famines, etc., is gained by nam aparad, offensively taking to the name, or by namabhas, taking the dimly perceived name. That by which crores of times greater eternal good is produced, whereby the lotus of the eternal well-being of the jiva blossoms forth, that Sri Nama, holy name, the Gaudiya Math endeavors to give away freely. They are earnestly trying to give away freely Krishna himself. This is the mission of Gaudiya Math or the Gaudiya Sampradaya. In this world, there are many persons who spread unwholesome doctrines after advertising their intention to give good advice. But most men are deceived by the idea that the actually pleasurable experience of the moment is the good. Now, he explains more about this, then we will understand. In Sanatan Shiksha, instruction to Sanatan, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sanatan Goswami himself said, Ke ame keno more jare tapatroy, iha nahi jani kemone hito hoy. Who am I? Why doth, okay, this is old in English, why doth the threefold misery afflict me? I do not know how good can be. That means, what is good for me? Apnar hitahit kichui na jani. Gramya vyavahare kohe pandit tai satyamani. So, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they are saying in another place that everybody calls us pandit. But I am such a pandit that apnar hita ahita kichui na jane. I don't know what is good for me, what is not good for me. Ke ami, who am I? Keno more jare tapatroy. Why am I suffering the threefold miseries? Iha nahi jane kemo nahi to hoy. If I don't know who am I and why am I suffering, then what good will come out of any endeavor if I am not on this platform of understanding myself and the reason for my miseries? In answer to the question, how can there be good? The message of the good that Gaurasundar, the expounder of the Sanatana Dharma traditional religion, delivered to us regarding the only means of obtaining that good, if it once reached our ears, we would not have considered bhakti denoted by kirtan as weak and other methods as strong. It means if the how any good can happen to us if we understand that the holy name is the only way. Kalau nastyeva 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 gataranyatha. Harer Nam, Namaiva Kevalam. It is a very simple verse, but we actually don't understand it. It's the only way, it's the only way, it's the only way, there's no other way, no other way, no other way, but still we take to other ways. Now, so how good can come? When we would not have considered bhakti denoted by kirtan as weak and other methods as strong. The words for this is Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kohe Sudridha Nischay. I think 22.107, I think. No. Shraddha Shabde. 2262. श्रद्धा शब्दे विश्वास कहे सुदृढ़ निश्चय कृष्ण भक्ति कहले सर्व कर्म कृत होय. Shraddha is confident, firm faith that by rendering transcendental loving service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. Such faith is favorable to the discharge of devotional service. This is the message. This is what will actually bring good. Hmm? Keami 20.100. Keami Kena Amai Jareta Patrai. Kena More or Kena Amai? And doing anyway. Why do the threefold miseries always give me trouble? If I do not know this, how can I be benefited? Turning our face away from the direction in which the treasure would be easily found, we would not have hurried towards the south for the bite of wasps, towards the west for the terrors of the yaksha, the demon that guards worldly riches, towards the north for offering our lives to the fangs of the black snake. Our home is eastward. We are running with all speed away from the east, towards other points of the compass. And when the people of the East call out to us to turn back, deluded by the mirage, we say, "We will not listen to you. See what beautiful lakes full of the cleanest water lie yonder before our very eyes." So, I hope you understand what he was saying. So, this is that reference to that treasure story that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave. So, bite of wasps, and he just quoted that. He did not even explain it, what it means or whatever, but we get the idea. But if you of course know the actual reference, then you will have more context. Now you see, our home is eastward. We are running with all speed away from the east towards other points of the compass, and that's exactly our problem here. We're running every other way in the compass but not east. And when people of the east call out to us to turn back, deluded by the mirage, we say, "We will not listen to you. See what beautiful lakes full of the cleanest water lie yonder." Yonder means there, lie there before our very eyes. So we are attracted to the so-called, pleasures of this world. Don't call me. See how nice my world is. So this is, they have huge hopes, but actually they're not looking at a clean water lake. They're looking at a mirage. So they have hopes that, oh, here in front of me is water. I'll just a little bit forward, and it will never come. Talking thus and being talking thus and being by degrees enamored of that which only appeals to our senses, we are ever moving away from home towards foreign lands. In those circumstances, the doings of the Gaudiya sometimes seem to us and to those who are like-minded with ourselves as being contrary to our ideas. Um, just like we get some flack on the internet for producing some content, which when we say that such and such person is wrong or something, this is the proper way, then it's they think they're against. And this is not only for outsiders, even devotees have this problem when they're not properly taken to the message of Krishna consciousness, not properly taken to the lifestyle, the culture, the mood of Krishna consciousness. They find this a bit um, unsettling. Those devotees who want to be in, they're averse to full-time life. Now, out of circumstances, one may not immediately be able to join full-time, but one must know that that is where I have to head towards. And that is the goal of my life, and that is what I should be engaged in as much service as possible. I should not um, have apprehensions about that mode of life. But many devotees do have. They actually respect devotees who have dedicated their lives, but in their own life, they will never have such a plan. And um, that's why I say, even in Hindus, that is just like a Hindu. Hindu, when he sees a sadhu, he will touch his feet. Now, when his own son becomes sadhu, he will chastise him like anything. Oh, rascal, what is this? How you could have easily become a good engineer and a good CEO or big business magnate or whatever. So, and you could have easily, married a beautiful girl or this and that. That is Hindu. That sant, that sadhu whose feet he has touched, That sadhu is somebody's son, right? Why does he respect that sadhu, but his own son becomes sadhu, he becomes enemy now? Same thing in our own life, even as devotees. We're not serious about committing ourselves fully. And actually, this is where it does not automatically come from within. In the beginning, somebody has to push. I myself, I mean, although I was attracted to monk life and everything theoretically, even before Krishna consciousness, I was trying to go to, becoming a kung fu monk in China. That was my plan. Wild plan. It's just not even a plan. It is a dream. It's just like fantasy, rather. So when it actually comes to doing it, it's not so easy. Uh, but if there is somebody who could nudge us forward, we will do it. Like, so I was already kind of attracted to monk life, detached life, renounced life, because of my attachment to kung fu or even other ways. But when I read Krishna consciousness, I mean Prabhupada's books, I was very much attached to this Krishna consciousness, full time life. Yeah, that's a perfect life. Yes, yes, yes. But will I do it? Well, that didn't happen automatically. Prabhu pushed me. Prabhu said, of course, I took his instructions. That is there. But if he did not give that instruction, I would not have myself gone and taken that uncomfortable step. Because we can, in our minds, we can, have this whole dream, a utopia that I am actually full time and, I am doing this and that. But when I actually have to do it and face the consequences, oh, my family is going to be completely against me. My education up until now is not going to be really so much useful. And Krishna. And I'm not going to have money. I have no security. I'm surrendering myself here. And if something goes wrong, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to be on the streets. There's no, every bridge is burnt. I can't go back. What am I going to do? Will I do it? How can I trust? Will this work? So many questions will come, right? This is where, when one is sincere, he will be helped. We have to only be sincere. Krishna, I don't know. What if analysis we will do. As if we know everything. Oh, this, we want, what we want? We want a perfectly laid out plan. A. If not A, B. If not B, C. So backup plans, 100 black backup plans, so that okay, everything is set. Okay, now I will step forward. Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Kohe Sudridhan Nishchay. Krishna Karma, what is that? Krishna Karma Koile Sarva Karma Krita Hoy. We just have to surrender to Krishna and serve him. Everything else Krishna will take care. What do we know? What if? How are we going to analyze? What data do we have? And even if past data, how is it going to apply in my life? Nothing. All this analysis is stupid. This is actually not analysis, it is paralysis. Paralysis, what happens? We can't move. So we will never move forward. We will just be paralyzed. Oh, shall I do? Shall I not do? Analysis paralysis, they call it. You are analyzing so much that you are paralyzed. You are not taking any action. Like that, the donkey. Donkey, there was some grass 100 meters away from him. Heap of grass. There was another heap of grass 100 meters on this side. Now, what he did, he was analyzing. Shall I should go to this grass or this grass? Maybe once I reach that grass, maybe there is more greener patches on that side. Or maybe it could have been this side. Then I have to come back all the way. So which way, which way? Maybe that side, there are some, other donkeys who can help me. Maybe I can find some friends. Or maybe this side there may be donkeys on other. So in this way he was analyzing and became paralyzed. He never moved this way or that way and he died out of hunger. It's just a, parable. But you get the point. It is called analysis paralysis. Just finding out, oh, which one. Just do it. Do it. And Krishna will guide. So that's the thing. So if we are sincere, then we will be able to surrender. Then we will be able to. So we have to be. We cannot, this thinking of a devotee where he or she is not, they respect pure full-time devotees, but they themselves don't want to be. That is a very dangerous mentality. That is cheating yourself. That is called cheating yourself. Because then Krishna sees your intentions and he will provide accordingly. That I will never become full time. Because my thinking is not to join full time. So I must always think how to fully engage myself, fully engage myself. Then Krishna will make arrangement. If we don't want that, in superficially I may make a show of wanting it, but actually internally I don't want it at all. Then Krishna knows where my sincerity is, how much am I sincere. Krishna will give that much. Hmm. In those circumstances, okay, talking thus and being degrees enamored of that which only appears to our senses, we are ever moving away from home towards foreign lands. In those circumstances, the doings of the Gaudiya sometimes seem to us and to those who are like minded with ourselves as being contrary to our ideas. This is likely and need not cause any surprise. But all this notwithstanding, the Gaudiya bearing its message with its bright flag flying, emblazoning on it the words that attract our ears and eyes, is ever saying, नेह यत्कर्म धर्माय न विरागाय कल्पते न तीर्थपद सेवायै जीवन्नपि मृतो हि सः एवं नृणां क्रियायोगाः सर्वे सर्वे संसृति हेतवः त एवात्म विनाशाय कल्पन्ते कल्पिताः परे यदत्र क्रियते कर्म भगवन् भगवत् परितोषणं ज्ञानं यत्तद् ज्ञानं यत्तद्धीनं हि भक्ति योग समन्वितम. This script of Sanskrit is not very clear sometimes. Anyway, these are actually from where? First one is 323:56. Srimad Bhagavatam. नेह यत्कर्म धर्माय न विरागाय कल्पते न तीर्थपद सेवाय जीवन्नपि मृतो हि सः. Anyone whose work is not meant to elevate him to religious life, anyone whose ritualistic performances do not raise him to renunciation, and anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead him to devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead must be considered dead although he is breathing. And the next two verses are 1, 5, 34 and 35. एवं नृणां क्रियायोगाः सर्वे संसृति हेतवः त एवात्म विनाशाय कल्पन्ते कल्पिताः परे. Thus, when all a man's activities are dedicated to the service of the Lord, those very activities which caused his perpetual bondage become the destroyer of the tree of work. The next one. Yadatra kriyate karma bhagavat paritoshanam jnanam adhinam hi bhakti yoga samanvitam. Whatever work is done here in this life for the satisfaction of the mission of the Lord is called bhakti yoga, or transcendental loving service to the Lord. And what is called knowledge becomes a concomitant factor. So these three verses were quoted here. The work that is not done for the sake of dharma, the dharma that is not performed for the purpose of viraga, renunciation, the vairagya, renunciation that is not practiced for the service of Vishnu, such work, dharma or vairagya, whosoever practices is dead in life. The naimittic or conditional kamya karmas, fruitive works, are the cause of samsara bandhan, the bondage of the world, or yoni brahmana, or traveling to different wombs, that means taking birth and dying again and again. But those very works, if they are done for Godhead, have the power to destroy ungodliness. The Bhagavad Jnanam, divine knowledge associated with bhakti, devotion, denoted by Shravan, Kirtan, etc., listening to, singing, etc., is assuredly the unswerving fruit of work that are performed in this world for pleasing God. It is this that is the subject of the propaganda of the Sri Gaudiya Math. The Sri Gaudiya Math, by its practice, proclaims that without the gratification of the senses of Godhead, by the gratification of the senses of the jiva, no real good can accrue either to oneself or to others. By invocation of mukti, annihilation and deprecation of the pleasures of the senses of the jiva, God is not served. There are many hypocrite sects who counterfeit bhakti, devotion, by assuming the paraphernalia of the false devotee, but are not aware that bhakti is an impulse of the soul. They assume the paraphernalia of it. They may wear the dress of a devotee, and externally they may show as a devotee, but actual devotion is the impulse of the soul. What is my impulse? Am I actually feeling devotion? Am I actually wanting to do this for Krishna? So that, or I'm just doing it to show off to others, or to show to others that I'm a devotee. That is to be questioned by everyone. Of these, some for the purpose of filling their bellies, some for fame, and some again by imitating some other purpose serve to delude the people. The Gaudiya Math says, in the name of dharma, it is not proper to practice trade. Not using Hari to serve our own pleasures, our duty is only to serve Sri Hari. So trade means I'm a businessman. Like Prahlad Maharaj says, I don't want to be a businessman with you, Narasimhadev. I don't want anything. When Narasimhadev said, please ask me a benediction, he said, I'm not a trader. I don't want anything in return for my devotion. The Gaudiya Math says that imitating the devotee of Hari or putting on the dress of Narada as in a theatrical performance is far from walking after the devotee of Hari or following Narada. Following in the footsteps of Hari or following Narada. The delightful tune, time, cadence alone do not constitute the Hari Kirtan of the Gaudiya Math. Very powerful. The delightful tune, time, and cadence alone do not constitute the Hari Kirtan of the Gaudiya Math. The tempo, the tune, the timing, that is alone is not Kirtan, do not constitute the Hari. Those are found even in the performances of the gramophone or of harlots. Harlots, what are harlots? I've heard the word, but I prostitute, yes. Means prostitutes also can dance and sing and even theatrical gramophone, like a tape recorder or CD. This can also do nice tune and time and cadence, but that does not have any devotion. A prostitute does not have any devotion. Chetanata, consciousness is necessary. The fiery life is necessary. Simultaneous practice and preaching is necessary. So we have to be involved. Mayarpita mano buddhi. Krishna is saying, um, apply your mind and intelligence to me. Invest your mind and intelligence in me. So while doing our service, we have to be involved with mind, body, and soul. Involved. Mindful service, soulful service. That's what we need to do. Chetanata, consciousness is necessary. The fiery life is necessary. Simultaneous practice and preaching is necessary. The Gaudiya Math says that he who does not possess a pure character is not fit even to be styled man, not to speak of being regarded as religious. Means he cannot even be called a man if he does not possess a pure character. The Gaudiya Math keeps at a distance from the five Kali Sthanas. Nowadays there is some Khalistan movement going on. Sounds similar to Kalisthana. Kali means quarrel, strife, and the place of Kali. Of course, Khali means empty, Sthan means land, empty land, Khalistan. But it sounds very much like Kalistan. So It's a place of quarrel. Actually, that's what they're doing. They're doing some uprising quarrel here and there, demonstrations and all that. Actually, this whole world is Kalisthana because it's a Kali Yuga. Whole every place is Kalisthana. Fighting. The Gaudiya Math keeps at a distance from the five Kalisthanas, abode of quarrel. What are they? The Kalisthanas, according to the text of Bhagavad, are the following. Now, these are actually four principles, four regulative principles. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. And fifth one is money or like gold. Now, but the way he explains is more than just these words. You see, number one, dissipating games such as cards, dice, etc., trade or the profession of a trader in the name of dharma. In the name of dharma, doing trade. That is also gambling. And actual gambling. Now, two, indulgence in luxury such as betel, tobacco, wines, etc. Intoxication. Okay. Three, improper association with women or unusual addiction to one's own wife. Now, you may say, so, oh, sex outside marriage. No. Even within marriage, if one is addicted to wife, then that is also illicit sex. I mean, sex should only be for children, begetting children, and that to take responsibility to raise them as Krishna conscious uh, children. Then four, animal slaughter, which is meat eating. Not to proclaim the truth to people, but to deceive them by untruth. So this is himsa. Himsa. So himsa is of course killing animals. That is one thing, but also himsa is not to preach. That is also himsa. And not to preach Harikatha, the word of God, to Jiva. In lieu of Harikatha, to give other kinds of advice. Or how to become rich. Now that what is that? In ISKCON, what is that? Vivek Bindra. He is giving Bhagavad Gita. What business tips from Bhagavad Gita? Nonsense. It's nonsense. Rascaldom. Yeah, he has many views. What's the use? That's useless. In lieu of Harikatha, to give other kinds of advice. So all that comes under the four regulative principles: himsa, the animal slaughter. See how many different ways he's explaining the four sinful activities. And five, by cheating people or by accepting money that is earned by their labor from people in general to apply such wealth to the maintenance of wife and children or increasing the scope of one's own enjoyments, not to employ everything, the body, mind, and speech of the Jiva, life, wealth, and intellect in the service of Sri Vishnu, who is the proprietor of all things and the supreme lord of all wealth. Basically, pure devotee you must be. So, otherwise, we're not associating with them. So, that is the Gaudiya Math. That's how he is. Okay, Khalistan means the land of Khalsa. Okay, got it. So, but sounds very similar to Khalistan. Yeah. Okay, so the Shastra says, of all things, the human body is the dearest to God. The human body is the giver of the Paramartha, the highest good, and is very difficult to obtain. And therefore, while this body lasts, without being immersed in any other thing, not deceiving ourselves by thinking that any other method except sorrow, stupor, fear killing bhakti is productive of good, it is our duty unceasingly to practice devotion. What is stupor? Stupor. A state of stupor. A state of near unconsciousness or insensibility. Okay, delusive. So, method accept sorrow, stupor, fear, killing bhakti. Bhakti which kills sorrow, stupor, and fear. If so, that means not deceiving ourselves by thinking that any other method except the bhakti is productive of good. It is our duty to unceasingly practice devotion. Other forms of devotion to God are weak. The devotion denoted by kirtan is strong. Once the protection of the strong bhakti is secured, it gives to jivas the highest good with little effort on their part. Therefore, by preaching kirtan at all times to induce by right of the highest kinship, the whole of the jiva to turn homeward is true universal love, true help of others, true kindness, and the true duty of life. So we should consider everybody our kin, our family. It's not just consider, they are our family because God is our father, Krishna is our father. So, therefore, by preaching kirtan at all times to induce by right of the highest kinship, is the highest kinship, the whole of the jiva, means every all jivas, to turn homeward, means towards kingdom of God, is true universal love, true help of others, true kindness, and the true duty of life. The Gaudiya Math, embracing all without exception the inhabitants of the universe, in sadness, calling upon all to turn their face towards God, to be preachers of this bhakti denoted by kirtan, says, He sadhava sakalameva vihaya durat chaitanya chandra charane kurutanuragam. Ye the righteous, bidding goodbye to everything from a distance, offer the devotion of your hearts to the feet of Chaitanya Chandra. So that is the end of this article. So that is the mission of Gaudiya Math, and that is the mission of Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. That is the mission of our ISKM. So we should understand, if we are in ISKM, we should understand what we should stand for. If we don't even know our stand, and if we are not aligned with it, the movement is only as strong as its people. Ultimately, it's the personal aspect that is important. It's like ISKCON is powerful as long as the instructions of Prabhupada are carried out. If they're not, then it will dwindle. So the institution may remain, but the life is sucked out now. So the life is the order of the spiritual master, and that should be adhered to at all times, at all costs. So this is as much of a lesson to myself as to anybody else. Mm. Just to bring back things into perspective on what we stand for, what we are actually surrendering to, and what should be our mode of thinking and conduct. All right, so I'll stop it here. Any questions or comments? Oh, lazy. Are you also coming? Okay, this is not for me. Mm. Oh, somehow the computer did not give much trouble. Sorry, I know you covered this, but what about Sri Sampradaya, which has moksha in regards to an eternal body in Vaikuntha? Yeah, moksha is a subset. I mean, moksha is already gotten when one gets bhakti. Moksha is just like nothing. Eternal service in Vaikuntha. Religious transplantations always pervert the original tradition that is proselytizing. This is the case with Shia Islam and Abhira's Shavopasanam Christianity, and Yahudi Jati and ISKCON and Sanatan Dharma. So I know you have, I think, spoke about this to me on a call as well. See, religious transplantations always pervert the original tradition. No, this is a very, very skewed perspective. The point is we have to understand things from the constitutional perspective. You are seeing it from a very relativistic perspective, relative perspective. Constitutionally, we are servants of Krishna. Everybody in this material world is more or less a non-devotee, right? So Krishna comes and establishes dharma of the spiritual world within this material world. So is that not a transplantation also? So don't think of it as Indian religion transplanting it to US, or it cannot be fully properly done and all that. That is wrong idea of doing it. So in the beginning, yeah, transition phase is always a little bit jittery. When it is more established, then you can see the full. Uh, Now you see India, Bharat, it's becoming more and more westernized. You see, um, almost completely gone the traces of religion. So Western culture was successfully transplanted into India. So why can't our culture be transplanted in elsewhere? So, and it is not Indian. It is a spiritual culture from the spiritual world. And in this material world, everybody is against Krishna. So we have to bring that spiritual world consciousness into this material world. It's a transplanting. But actually, that is our original constitutional position. Otherwise, there's no hope. So don't look at it from a wrong lens. That's why you have to read our books. Our books. Prabhupada's books. You're reading everything on the internet. That's why you're confused. You are seeing it from a very skewed perspective because they see from a skewed perspective, and they're, you know, the corruption in ISKCON is not because it was transplanted. Well, Gaudiya also had that corruption then. It was not transplanted elsewhere. It was all in India. But so it is the nature of the conditioned souls to again distort the message. That is the nature. Why did Krishna say that Sakale neha mahata yogo nashta parantapa? So it will dwindle. So again and again it has to be revived. Either Krishna comes or he sends his messengers or he sends his sincere devotees who serve the Acharya. In this way he keeps the parampara going and the message alive so that whoever is sincere can come. And one can absolutely, I mean, you see Nimanita Prabhu, he is preaching in China. His son is born in China. China is what kind of country? I mean, and even there, he is fully practicing Bhakti Yoga. It can be done anywhere. It is sincerity that matters. Otherwise, even in India, you cannot do it. Honestly, in India also you cannot do it. So many Indians are failing. Vast majority of Indians are failing. Hmm. I'm talking about Hridayananda Krishna West. Yeah, well, that is his nonsense. But if somebody is properly following, he can follow. Even with the Western body, it doesn't matter. That in India also there is so many concoctions, right? It's not just um, exclusive to Western world. Uh, and on the other hand, they're also saying beef ban at the same time exporting. Yeah, it's a hypocrisy. Vaikuntha Kids is the name, I think. But Prabhu isn't in homeschooling the kids alone. Should even homeschooling should be done with many kids? Well, Nimanita's son is alone, but if there are community of devotees, you can have more children over time. You know, don't think always small. Pioneers, yes, pioneers everything is alone, but one has to be determined, and then he can make others also devotee. If he can't make, he can't, if he's not determined, then he cannot make others devotees. Oh, what if my child will grow alone? Why he should grow alone? Why can't you make other people devotees? And their children also can be, eventually, associating, and then he can have all kinds of association with other children. You should think on those lines. Oh, there's nobody. Let me also join the flock of the materialists. Pioneering spirit means I have to think of, okay, and there's nothing, then I will set it up. So that is the mood one must come from. Save soul. Hashtag save soul. Not save soil. Save soil will automatically happen if you save soul. I had realization yesterday that it isn't how hard you work in devotion service, it is how consistently you do the service. Yes, hard work maybe for a one off show. Consistency is the key. Of course, sometimes you have to do some hard work. It's not a no hard work. Sometimes when there are festivals and all that, there extra effort. But consistency is the key. The baseline sadhana should be consistent. All right. Thank you very much. श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर की जय. गौड़ीय वैष्णव संप्रदाय की जय. हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय. निताय गौर प्रेमानंद. Hari Hari Bol. You didn't answer my question, sir. Every time you are like this. I don't care. I answered everything on there. Some first and some question. Please don't always craving for attention. But just I try to understand the class now. Please. I'm just going to end the broadcast here. Hare Krishna.